Hello everyone and welcome to Battle of the Beast Reptile Rampage episode number 28. This is the final battle of the quarterfinals with the last two beasts that have made it to the quarterfinals to fight it out for the last spot in the semi-finals. So with this battle we got here, this one I knew was going to be the last battle of this round because it's a battle between two former runner-ups. And with that being said, let's introduce them. Representing Series 7, the Lost World, the runner-up of the Old Generation tournament and only coming second to Torpix, the Twisting Serpent, we have Krestor, the Crushing Terror. Versus his opponent, the representative of Series 19, the Kingdom of Dragons, the runner-up in the Battle of the Beast All Generation tournament, losing to Jakara, the Ghost Warrior, we have Strytor, the Skeleton Dragon. So with both of these beasts going against each other, when I saw that matchup, I was thinking this should have been a semi-final or a final matchup. But I'm going to honor the generator and say this is going to be a good battle. I'm hoping for a great one. And whilst I feel like I know who should win, I do know that I'm going to give it the best I can to try and give a very good battle. And I know that the beast that probably should lose this one will put up a great fight regardless. And for all I know, I might narrate it in a way where the other beast wins. So I don't know who's going to win this because I don't even know what I'm going to say. The arena is going to be the Fallen Kingdom arena. Just the Fallen Kingdom arena. And with that, let's get to the stats. Krestor, the Crushing Terror. This beast has the neck of a serpent, coated in green scales, with powerful legs and webbed claws that propel him through the water. Krestor's red eyes can search out prey in the gloomiest depths. The beast's snaking coils can squeeze the life out of his victims. His other deadly weapons are the jagged spines along his back. They can shoot acid strong enough to melt flesh and bone. Age 313, power 240, magic level 167, fright factor 83, size 373. Powers and abilities: natural weaponry, webbed feet, underwater breathing, acid manipulation, enhanced durability, constriction, and limited camouflage. Weaknesses is land movement limit. Might need to alter the battlefield then for fairness reasons. Strytor, the Skeleton Dragon. This beast forms himself out of a pile of bones right before Tom and Alina's eyes. He takes the form of a vast skeletal dragon, glowing a hideous white against the night sky. Questers can see his fiery breath forming in his hollow belly, but are usually powerless to save themselves from his blasts. Age 301, power 282, magic level 188, fright factor 94, size 326. Powers and abilities: flight, fire manipulation and breath, disassembly and limited camouflage, resurrection and reformation. Resurrection is banned, by the way. Reanimation, natural weaponry, and enhanced durability. Minions are reanimated skeletons, that's if he has any bones that are in the area. And weaknesses is incapacitation. Okay, so we're back from the stats department, and with that, Krestor versus Strytor, Fallen Kingdom Arena. I'm not going to change it like I considered with Krestor, but that's because Krestor has had multiple fights in arenas that had no water whatsoever, and he was completely fine. Trust me, there are tons of fights he's been in without any water, and he's been fine. So I think he'll be fine in another battle without any water. But with that, Krestor versus Strytor. Let's get into this. As the chamber doors open, Strytor immediately bursts out through the sky exit and roars into the arena, shaking his bones whilst he does it to try and give intimidation factor off. Meanwhile, Krestor makes his way out of his chamber, slowly, but swaying his head around ever so gracefully. And as he locks eyes with Strytor, he stretches his neck out and roars towards Strytor, causing Strytor's own bones to shake. As Strytor comes down to the ground of the arena, instantly the spectators are realizing how momentous of a battle this is going to be, as they're leaning in their seats, staring into the arena, trying to see which beast will make the first move. And almost as quickly as that thought was said, Strytor immediately takes to the sky and creates a ball of fire inside his stomach and breathes it directly on towards Krestor. Krestor, in retaliation, bows down his head and allows the fire to just hit the back of his neck straight on, where it bounces off almost effortlessly. As he unbows his head, he reaches out towards Strytor and actually grabs on to his leg and pulls with all his might, pulling Strytor down. Strytor, using his other leg, uses the claw at the end of that leg and slashes right through it, causing him to detach that leg. Krestor, with that remaining leg, just swallows it whole and stares towards Strytor, licking his lips with a sinister grin forming on his face. Strytor, realizing that he may need some help with this one, comes down to the ground, lands on a dilapidated building and flaps his wings so hard he throws them off of him as both the wings fall to the ground and shatter into millions of pieces. And before Krestor's eyes, he sees the bones starting to reform and starting to make up skeletons as part of Strytor's minions. Strytor roars an order towards them, and all the skeletons charge up towards Krestor. The skeletons, nowhere near the size of Krestor, charge up to this behemoth of a beast, and Krestor seems completely unfazed by them. He just stares at them as they come closer, lifting up his claw, swiping some away, knocking them towards the wall of the arena, using another claw to pick one up by the little skull that it has, and hoisting it up to his eye level before slamming it down into the ground by his claw. He then flicks one away with another claw, and in lifting up his head, he smashes his head into the ground, causing the ground to shake and for them to lose balance. But from the dust on the ground, it just pushes them away out of his way. As most of the skeletons lie around the arena, Krestor picks up. They all seem to be in one specific area, by the way, because they all get flung in the same direction. Krestor picks up a nearby rock and chucks it right towards all of them. And as the rock collides into those skeletons, all of them shatter almost immediately. As Krestor finishes dealing with that, he stares up at Strytor, who sees the whole thing and realizing that he's going to need to figure something out, because Krestor took care of his entire army very quickly and without having to use the full extent of his power. As Strytor makes his way down the wall of that building, digging his claws into the nooks and crannies from that building, he comes down to the ground and roars towards Krestor. Krestor bows his head and, with the spikes on his neck, shoots up acid going up into the sky, causing it to rain all over the arena. Strytor sees that and dives into the building that was right behind him, taking shelter as the acid droplets drop everywhere, melting the skeleton army, or what was left of it anyway. As Krestor makes his way up to the building that Strytor was hiding in, Strytor prepares himself to attack with all his might, ready for when Krestor knocks the building down. And that's exactly what happened. Krestor lifts up his head and swings it, breaking the building almost entirely. And at that moment, Strytor leaps towards Krestor, pushing him back, and using his claws, starts digging at the scales, trying to scrape away the scales, scratching everywhere on Krestor, biting into his neck at one point as well. Krestor, using his claws, just pushes back Strytor's front claws, and then breaks them off as he chucks his Strytor's front legs to the side. And then, using his claws again, he grabs onto the top and bottom of Strytor's head, which is bitten into his neck, pries the he pries the teeth out of him and pushes Strytor away, giving Krestor time to get back up. And as Strytor charges up again, Krestor lifts up his tail, swings it, and knocking Strytor to the side. Strytor shoots fire directly towards Krestor, and Krestor bows down, shoots acid up into the sky. As he's greeted by the fire, the acid drops down and starts exploding as it makes contact with the flames. At that point, Strytor has an idea, but realize he needs to tempt Krestor into shooting more acid out. As Strytor recalls back the fire, Krestor, in a fit of anger, shoots acid all over the place, continues shooting acid. Strytor takes cover, waits for Krestor to batter another building aside, and that's exactly what he does, causing Krestor to shoot more acid up. Strytor making his way to another shelter, dodging the acid puddles which are starting to form. Krestor continues shooting acid even after knocking things down. And as Strytor takes cover behind the last building left standing in this arena, he sees that the rubble all around the arena, is starting to melt, but there are acid puddles emerging everywhere around this arena. As Krestor continues shooting acid, Krestor seizes with shooting acid as he lifts up his claw, swipes at the building, only breaking one bit of it for it to fall in on itself. Strytor sees that and realizes if that building falls and Krestor already blocks the exit and Strytor's still in there, he's in trouble. So Strytor jumps, breaking right through the roof as the rest of the building falls down onto where Strytor just was. And as Strytor looks around the arena, he sees acid everywhere, drenching Krestor, but also in tons of puddles all over the arena, almost like the floor has been replaced with acid. Krestor shoots up more acid into the sky as it continues raining down all over the place, including on top of Strytor. Strytor sees that the bones that have come into contact with that acid are starting to dissolve. Holes are forming all over him from the acid which landed on him, building up fire inside his belly. He shoots it down towards the arena. As Krestor sees what he's doing, he lunges towards Strytor as the fire contacts with Krestor, and the flames flicker all over Krestor and the arena as a giant explosion erupts from the arena, as everywhere that's been drenched in acid, well, all the acid simultaneously blows up, including the ones that were drenching Krestor, splattered over Strytor, and flooding the arena. Smoke billows out of the arena that could be seen from the far reaches of the kingdom where the combat arena is placed. Literally, you could be in the northern mountains and just see tons of smoke erupting there, and you'd think, oh, it must be the volcano. Look to your left. Oh, the volcano's there. So what's that? You could be there and just see that. As the smoke starts clearing, both the beasts are staring down at each other in what was a very full arena. It's now completely barren and empty. As both beasts are staring each other down, Krestor is gasping for breath, covered in smoke that was from the fire, and Strytor covered in holes and just very raspily breathing. The holes are from the acid. As they're both struggling to stand, Strytor has to reorganize his bones to where he now has his front legs back and no wings, but he's a lot smaller than what he was. Krestor, still in his full size, is waiting for Strytor to make a move. Strytor realizes that he can't take another explosion like this again, but he knows Krestor can't either. Strytor tries to figure out what he can do and realizes that the only thing he can do is try and expose the weak points which he made by the injuries he's already inflicted on Krestor when it came to his scratch wounds. Krestor also realizes that and realizes that the only way he's going to beat Strytor is breaking him. Not metaphorically, literally. In that same moment, both the beasts immediately lunge towards each other, Strytor putting aside any fears he may have from any more acid. He lunges towards Krestor as Krestor swings his head back and uses his claws to just uppercut Strytor away from him. As Strytor grabs onto the claw, as he swings around Krestor's arm, he maneuvers his way, he jumps from the arm onto his neck. as Krestor then slams his whole neck and head into the ground, causing Strytor to lose his balance. Krestor swings his tail around and slams it down towards where Strytor was. Strytor rolls out of the way just in time before the tail landed on him. And Krestor noticed something that happened when he smashed his tail into the ground and realized he's going to need to use that to his advantage. So as Strytor prepares himself for another attack, Krestor does a swipe towards him. As Strytor takes a step back from it, Krestor actually stops with the swipe and smashes his claw right into the ground and scratches at the ground, creating a dust everywhere, scattering the entire arena. Strytor, caught off guard by this, is then immediately caught even more off guard as the last thing he sees before being impacted is Krestor's head coming directly down on him, slamming his mouth and his skull right into the ground of the arena. As Strytor tries to get back up from this, he tries to open his mouth, but is greeted by Krestor's claw, pinning his mouth shut. As Krestor roars in triumph over his plan working, he lifts up his tail and smashes his tail onto Strytor's tail, shattering the connection joint from there. As Strytor tries to reconnect it, Krestor doesn't allow it and continues smashing at the tail until those bones are in millions of pieces to where they can't be reanimated. Strytor scratching at the ground, trying to break free, and Strytor does get an idea. So as he's scratching at the ground, looking helpless, trying to break free, in actuality, what he's doing, he's scratching at the ground directly underneath him until he can actually wiggle his way out from Krestor's firm grip. As Krestor is looking around in triumph, trying to get the audience to cheer his name from that he conquered this dragon, Strytor immediately lifts up a claw, slashes at Krestor's claw, and rolls down a little ditch that he made from his digging whilst Krestor was distracted, and immediately bites down towards Krestor's claw, and with all his strength pulls Krestor down to the ground. Krestor slams his entire side into the ground as Strytor immediately bites down onto Krestor's neck. Krestor, in anger, shoots acid all over the place, with Strytor biting down on the back of Krestor's neck though. Some of the acid that Krestor shoots point blank hits Strytor right in the skull, going down his rib cage as well. And in that instant, Strytor knew he messed up. He roars in pain as acid starts dissolving his skull and his ribs. As he stands at a safe distance back, he is struggling to stand as his support structure is disappearing as we speak. Krestor gets back up, laughs mockingly towards Strytor, gasping for breath now with all the blood that's draining from his neck, realizing that he needs to finish this beast off once and for all. He shoots acid up into the sky, causing it to rain down directly on top of Strytor, while Strytor shoots fire directly towards Krestor to burn his wounds even more. As Krestor screeches in pain over this, he can't help but show some satisfaction knowing that the acid is landing on top of Strytor. And as soon as one drop of acid touched Strytor, another explosion happened. But instead of it littering the entire arena, the explosion happened just on Strytor. A bunch of mini explosions of each droplet that touched Strytor, but each one did a damage. And eventually Strytor ceased with the fire entirely as Strytor realized he got tricked into breathing out fire. His fire is igniting the acid, which he knew happened, but because the acid isn't everywhere, it's going to hit where the fire comes from, which is him. As Strytor stares in shock from that, he fails to notice Krestor come up to him, lifts up his claw, pins Strytor's skull down to the ground as he lifts up his tail and brings it down on the rib cage, shattering that completely, leaving Strytor as just a skull. As Krestor picks the skull up and with both claws pulls his mouth open as wide as he can before immediately opening it to a full 180 with a loud snap that's heard from the audience, and they all wince in that from that sound all at once. That point, Krestor chucks the skull down to the ground and makes his way back to his chamber. And all that the spectators see is a once green beast covered in red and smoke, limping his way back to his chamber, whilst there's a skeleton on the ground that honestly looks like Swiss cheese. And with that, Krestor is our winner, and Strytor is eliminated. If you think Strytor should have won, please comment below why you think that. How my worst final, and Krestor is the 4th semi-finalist in this tournament. So this was a battle which I wanted to be the last battle, and that's because it's 2 former runner-ups, and I knew I had to make this a good battle. When I did the drafting for this tournament, I knew these two were going to end up fighting each other. I just wish it was later. But I did the best I can do with it. Ultimately, though, if I gave the arena advantage to Strytor without the amount of water for Krestor, I did also know that Krestor had the ability to, shoot acid, which can melt bone. But then I took a little bit of inspiration from Krestor and Carnivora's combined attack, which is also seen in Ben 10 as well. When acid collides with fire, an explosion happens. And with that was how I knew Krestor was more likely going to win. But I also knew from the experience of all these tournaments I've done, I know Strytor is one of those few beasts that will never give up. Well, except for one battle where he did concede defeat, but that was when he was against incredible odds when he was not going to win. But other than that, though, every other battle Strytor had, he gave it 110% with everything he did. And ultimately, though, what done him in is his own strategy to blow Krestor up. It backfired on him. And that's because the setup for it the first time with that giant explosion, yes, that was a good idea. You did damage to Krestor as well. But then you also got, if you don't set it up and the acid comes down and hits you, if you're breathing fire, it's going to hit you. And then you're going to be exploded by that. And that is ultimately what made me know that Krestor was going to win this battle. Ultimately, though, I am glad this battle happened. I just wished it happened later, because this was the battle I was looking forward to the most. And I think I did a good job. Personally, this is my favourite battle of this round. And it may be one of the more obvious ones, but it does come down to the fact that with the reputations that both of these beasts have, with the consistency on this one, and the sheer power and determination on this one, I knew it was going to be a good fight, even despite how obvious it was going to look. But with that is all for this time. If you like what you saw, leave a like, leave a comment, don't forget to subscribe, press the notification bell down in the corner below. Join me in the next video where I'll be doing a summary of this round and revealing all the semi-finalists. And then we're on to the semi-finals, baby, followed by the grand final. Until then, peace out.